when I think of the situation of every single NFL team, we're going to start with my favorite team, the Bengals. And there's going to be bias in these shorts, so you're going to have to bear with it just because of the bias. I'm going to try and the bias not affect too much, but you never know. Anyways, the Bengals. I think what they really need to do is probably not fire Zach Taylor, but fire Duke Tobin and add more people to their scouting staff, because it's obviously not getting the job done. Because if you look at their very recent picks, they've had a couple successful ones, and Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Yes, they're great players, but then you also have to look at the other players of Shamar Stewart, who was supposed to first round pick, defensive end. He has the same amount of tackles as our wide receiver number 1, Jamar Chase, at this last season. At 5, he has one singular sack. Yes, he had defense. Yes, he dealt with injuries over the season, but his problem is he's not healthy, and he's also not what should have been a first round pick. Next. The Bengals, they need to get Joe Burrow offensive line help. Where I love T. Higgins, I do think in order for us to see any sort of genuine success, we need to trade T. Higgins to another team, get some draft capital from him, and go get either offensive help or defensive help. When I say offensive help, I mean offensive line. Because I do think Chase Brown has the ability to be one of the best running backs in this league. Because if you look at his numbers, he does really good behind our terrible offensive line. Because they're starting to become a better pass rush offensive line, but their rush defense isn't good. It's terrible. Chase Brown has negative yards when hit from the... Chase Brown has more yards after contact than he does actual yards, which is insane, because that means he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage that many times. That's honestly our problem with our run game, is he's not able to move around properly, which is really limiting what he's able to do for our run game, which is going to limit our passing game. I think we get a better run O-line. Our offense is going to take that next step forward, of which it's already amazing. It's going to take that next step forward. Now, defensive line struggles. I don't think the Bengals should have given Trey Hendrickson that extra money this last season after seeing what happened with him. He got injured, didn't perform nearly at the level of which he was expected to. He was injured most of the season, and he didn't get his surgery that he was told to get until the end of the season. So even if we made the postseason, he wouldn't have been better by the time we were in the postseason. He wasn't willing to be a team player, and I do think we should have traded him in the season. Because now we gave him this extra money for him just to sit on the bench and be injured, and now he's just going to leave and go play for another team. Our linebacker room, that had some bright spots this year, I will say. Our linebacker room looks like it could definitely be on the up. They do need to work on their tackling. That's for sure. They need to work on their tackling. But even with their tackling, I do think that we could. This linebacker room is probably going to be the line. If we're going to win a Super Bowl with Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase, this linebacker room is probably going to be the linebacker room that we're going to win it with. Unless we manage to pick up an insane linebacker in free agency. Or we've, for some reason, draft a linebacker in the draft, which I don't see us doing. Because we need more defensive line help and secondary help than we do linebacker help right now, and offensive line help. So I feel like our three main focuses should be defensive linemen, preferably a replacement for Trey Hendrickson. Hopefully an absolute stud. We get like a Myles Garrett type guy. That would be amazing. Or, well, honestly, that's just what I want for defensive line, actually. And then secondary, hopefully Caleb Downs is still available when our pick comes up in 10th overall this next year. Because I see mock drafts saying that we're not going to select him, but I do think that he's the right step forward because he knows how to tackle. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. He knows how to tackle. He would make an immediate change on our defense of going from not really knowing how to tackle to him being able to tackle out there in the secondary, which would help us vastly with our secondary issues. Our special teams, I don't really see a need to change that. Charlie Jones has performed amazing this year. He had a returning touchdown. Like, he does really good. Our field goal unit, we have Evan McPherson. He's amazing. I love him. I'm pretty sure he's our franchise kicker for quite some time now. Yes, he had one bad season, but he was also dealing with groin injuries in that season. So we can't really hold that against him. Anyways, now what I think is possible with this team. With what I think is possible of this team is I think if this team builds around Joe Burrow, we could be a franchise. If we get the correct O-line going and the decent defense going, we would win Super Bowls. That's plain and simple. We would win Super Bowls. Joe Burrow's one of the best pocket passers, in my opinion, of all time. It's just is not able to really say that yet, simply because of lack of accomplishment. I mean, sure, he's done more than Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen in the getting to the big games, but once he's gotten there, he hasn't done anything with them, so we can't really say anything on that scale. Because Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have won MVPs. Now, this might be me being biased, but I do think that in the 2024 season, Joe Burrow should have won MVP even though his team didn't make the playoffs. Because, I mean, he led the league in passing yards, passing touchdowns by a wide margin. Without him, the team was 100% going like 3-14. Like, we needed a competent QB in the reins for that season. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Without a competent QB, that team was not winning games. I mean, take the early part of our season when Joe Burrow went down this year, and we had Jake Browning. Every game Browning played in, other than the Jaguars game, which he came in halfway through, was a blowout. Ja'Marr Chase had 5 tackles in the games Jake Browning was playing. That's not good. An offense or wide receiver 1 shouldn't have 5 tackles playing wide receiver in like a 3-game span. what I think the Bengals should do is re-sign Joe Flacco as our backup. So we have the Joe on Joe connections back there in the QB room. Because Joe Flacco, he's a vet. Like a seasoned vet. Super Bowl winning QB. I do think he could be extraordinarily useful for the Bengals. Because he was around one of the best defenses of all time with the Ravens. He could help our defensive guys even just by the fact of who he was around when he was with the Ravens. When Joe Flacco played on the Ravens. Like, there's so many things that could be going right for the Bengals. It's just our front office is what's holding us back. And they're, I want to say lack of ability, but I think it's more lack of knowledge. I don't think they know what they're doing. Because, I mean, when building a team, you don't pay 3 players over who all are a part of the same, like, core. You don't play them all, like, $30 million each. Like, Joe Burrow, he has one of the biggest contracts ever in NFL history. Jamar Chase, when he signed his contract, was the largest non-quarterback contract of all time. There's so many things that our front office has done that set us back. I don't know if we're going to be able to win a Super Bowl now with Joe Burrow. Simply because of that. We have to draft really good over these next few years in order to win a Super Bowl with Joe Burrow. And with the way we draft guys, I don't think that's going to happen. Like, our only good draft picks have been, in recent memory, have been like Amarius Mims, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. And these are just like names that are coming off the top of my head right now because I've been talking about them this entire time. And well, Amarius Mims is just one of my favorite players. Anyways, I do think if the Bengals get what they do correct, or get the off seasons done correct this year, we could go from being third in the division to Super Bowl champions pretty easily. Anyways, that's my Bengals take on their current standing and position. From my knowledge, which isn't that extensive.